Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, and thank you for listening. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's January 3rd. Today we celebrate one of the 19th century's top orchidologists and the birthday of a man who used his wealth to purchase an American garden treasure. We'll learn about one of the most prolific female plant collectors and the florist who shocked London with her floral displays. Today's Unearthed Words feature a beloved American poet and children's book author celebrating her 93rd birthday today. And we grow that garden library with a book that helps us grow edibles indoors, a great topic for January. I'll talk about a garden item that can help define the look of your garden space. And then we'll wrap things up with the birthday of a master storyteller who incorporated descriptions of real and fictitious plants in his landscapes. But first, let's catch up on a few recent events. The Guardian recently shared a post about the Bulbophyllum phalaenopsis, a beautiful orchid that was in bloom for the first time in a glass house at Cambridge University in the Botanic Garden. The orchid's natural habitat is in New Guinea, where it grows in altitudes of around 500 meters, and it's under threat. It's considered very rare, but like many plants that take a long time to bloom and are so gorgeous, the smell is not so great. In fact, the title of the article is Dead Rats, Putrid Flesh, and Sweaty Socks. Rare Orchid Gives Botanists a First Whiff. Well, the orchid's name, Bulbophyllum phalaenopsis, gives you a little clue about what it looks like. The word bulbophyllum is in reference to the enormous paddle-shaped leaves. They resemble the flat, long shape of a beaver's tail. If you'd like to read this article for yourself, just search for the word orchid in the Facebook community for the show. It's called the Daily Gardener Community. The other article that I shared was featured in the English Garden magazine. It was a post called Amaryllis, How to Grow This Festive Houseplant. If you're hesitant to grow amaryllis, don't be. They're wonderful. And as the article points out, it's very straightforward to coax them from a giant bulb into a towering plant that produces colorful trumpets of flowers. After the flowers have faded, all you need to do is cut back the flower stalk to the base, continue to water it, and give the bulb an occasional feed, and then the leaves will continue to grow. Now, if you'd like to check out these curated articles for yourself, you're in luck, because I share all of it in the listener community for the show in the free Facebook group. It's called the Daily Gardener Community, and there's no need to take notes or search for links. All you have to do is the next time you're on Facebook, search for the Daily Gardener Community and request to join. I'd love to meet you in the group. Here's today's brevities. Today is the birthday of the orchidologist Heinrich Gustav Reichenbach, who was born on this day in 1823. The orchidologist Frederick Sander wrote a masterpiece on every variety of orchid, and he named it Reichenbachia in honor of Heinrich Gustav Reichenbach. In 1882, Heinrich honored Sanders by naming the queen of the Philippine orchids after Sanders, naming it the Vanda sanderiana, which the locals call the Walling orchid. The Walling is considered one of the rarest, most beautiful, and most expensive orchid, and it's also one of the largest species of orchids in the world. Now, Heinrich's father was also a botanist, and so Heinrich grew up helping his father with his work. And he also fully appreciated the competitive aspects of the flower business. During his lifetime, Heinrich was one of the top orchid collectors in the world, a position he had worked hard to attain. And Heinrich named more orchids than any other person. And in his will, he asked that his herbarium be closed for 25 years to protect his work from competitors. And today is the birthday of Augustus van Wickle, the man who established the Blythewald Mansion and estate in the 1890s. Augustus was born into a well-to-do family who had a coal mining business. As he took over the reins, Augustus turned the business into a stunning success, and Augustus became enormously wealthy. When Augustus purchased Blythewald from a family with the last name of Gardner, ironically, it was so that he could have a home on the water that could accommodate docking his new steam yacht, named Marjorie, after his only child. Blythewald would be a summer residence for Augustus and his family. The following summer, Augustus's wife, Bessie, hired the landscape designer John de Wolfe to design the grounds of Blythewald, which had previously been used for farming. 3 years later, in the spring of 1898, Augustus and Bessie learned they were expecting another child. They'd been trying for 14 years, and the baby was due in November. Sadly, midway through Bessie's pregnancy, on June 8th, Augustus died. He accidentally shot himself during a skeet shooting trip with his buddies. His last words were, "Don't tell Bessie." Today, Augustus and Bessie's 33-acre estate, known as Blythewald, is considered an American garden treasure. It's one of the top gardens in New England, and TripAdvisor gives it a nearly perfect rating, saying Blythewald is an exceptional collection of rare and unusual plants, specimen trees, an accessible greenhouse, and whimsical stonework that all project a character that is romantic, fresh and inspiring, and unique to Blythewald. And the home is drop-dead gorgeous. By the way, after Augustus died, Bessie gave birth to a healthy baby girl with dark eyes and black hair. She named her Augustine, and she was stunningly beautiful, and she charmed everyone who knew her during her 78 years on this earth. Today is the birthday of the botanist and prolific plant collector Mary Strong Clemens, who was born on this day in 1873. When Mary was 19 years old, she married a minister named Joseph Clemens. Joseph was a chaplain in the United States Army, and he served in the Philippines and later in France during World War I. Mary was a maniacal plant collector, and wherever Joseph was stationed, she would collect plants. A true pastor's wife, sometimes Mary would offer lessons on biblical scripture or sing hymns in exchange for lodging. The years spent in the Philippines were particularly productive for Mary. When Joseph retired, he became Mary's assistant, and they worked together as a team. They had a system worked out. Mary collected the plants, and Joseph processed them. He dried them and then boxed them up for shipping. Joseph and Mary traveled the world together, spending time in Asia between the First and Second World Wars. By 1935, they were in New Guinea. Joseph ate some food that was contaminated by wild boar meat. The food poisoning was too much for his system, and he died on January 21st, 1936. This past year, the New Zealander citizen scientist Siobhan Leachman stumbled on a specimen of a tree that Mary had collected just 6 days after her husband died. In the lower left-hand corner of the specimen sheet is a label titled Flora of New Guinea. Mary labeled it Clemensii, and there, in her own handwriting, she wrote, "It was under this tree that my sole companion for over 40 years of wedded life bade me farewell for the higher life." And today is the 40th anniversary of the death of the florist Constance Spry, who died on this day in 1960. In 1929, Constance, who went by Connie, unveiled her first floral shop window display, and she shocked London by using hedgerow flowers. Ever the trailblazer, Connie began creating floral arrangements for dinner parties. Her work made her an immediate hit with the socialites of her time. Her success led her to go into business, and she opened a flower shop as well as a flower arranging school. Connie designed the flowers for the coronation of Her Majesty the Queen in 1953. And during World War II, she gave lectures encouraging people to grow their own food. A June 20th, 1945 article on Connie from the Corsicana Daily Sun out of Texas said, "Constance Spry, the English woman who not only arranges and sells flowers, but also grows them, carried on all through the Blitz. On one occasion, a bomb struck her house. It trembled, the roof sagged, but the building held, and Constance went right on working. At the corner of Berkeley Square, in the most elegant district of London, lives Constance Spry with her flowers and her new kind of flower shop. There's a bridal department, a department for boutonnieres and corsages, a department for fresh flowers, for trimming hats, and a department for day and evening dresses. In her greenhouse, Constance cultivates some rare and exotic beauties. They're used to decorate the homes and tables of clients, and they're also sent to recreation homes for soldiers, spreading joy to many. And it was on this day in 1993 that the American sci-fi television series Star Trek Deep Space Nine premiered. The show gave us 176 episodes over 7 seasons. The episode called The Wire included a botanical riff on the famous catchphrase, "I'm a doctor, not a fill in the blank," when Dr. Julian Bashir said, "I'm a doctor, not a botanist." In unearthed words, today is the birthday of the American poet and children's book author Joan Walsh Angland, who was born on this day in 1926. Angland wrote these lovely garden-inspired words. "A bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song." And then, "Friendship is like a rose, opening one petal at a time. Only as it unfolds, day by day, it reveals its true beauty." And finally, A leaf is a letter from a tree that writes in gold, "Remember me." It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Indoor Kitchen Gardening by Elizabeth Millard. The subtitle to this book is Turn Your Home into a Year-Round Vegetable Garden, Microgreens, Sprouts, Herbs, Mushrooms, Tomatoes, Peppers, and more. This book came out in 2014 and was named one of the best garden books of that year by the Chicago Tribune. Elizabeth teaches us how to grow vegetables inside our own home, where you don't have to worry about seasonal changes or weather conditions, but you do need to make good plant choices and create the right environment. Elizabeth owns Bossy Acres, a 100-member community-supported farm in Minnesota that provides produce to members and area restaurants. Elizabeth also leads workshops on vegetable and herb gardening, so she knows of what she writes. One reviewer wrote, "I bought this book after I borrowed my daughter's copy, and then I tasted the pea sprouts and broccoli sprouts she'd been growing. They were delicious and help us to eat organic and local even in the winter in New England. And I've already got light stands, and I'm very excited about starting sprouts in a few days. I've read most of the book, and I love how specific the instructions are. Hands-on experience, easy to understand directions, and matter-of-fact guidance. That's Elizabeth Millard. You can get a used copy of Indoor Kitchen Gardening and support the show using the Amazon link in today's show notes for under $7. And here's a great gift for gardeners, a weather vane. Weather vanes are more than just decoration. They can pay homage to the essence of your garden, your location, your family, and so forth. They add character and charm to any garden shed or outbuilding. At our cabin, I bought a copper mallard duck weather vane for the garden shed because the house is on a lake that is home to so many birds and waterfowl. Today, I've included a link to the Landing Duck Cottage weather vane in polished copper that I bought last summer if you want to get one for yourself, or you can get a design that better suits you and your location. The weather vanes are from a company called Good Directions, and they sell such quality products. You'll love it. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. Today is the birthday of J.R.R. Tolkien, who was born on this day in 1892. Gardeners will appreciate a book called The Flora of Middle-earth, Plants of J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium by Walter Judd and his son Graham. The natural landscape is a major part of Tolkien's work. When Tolkien created Middle-earth, he was incredibly detailed about the plant life. In total, over 160 plants are explicitly mentioned and described, and nearly all of those plants are real species, although some are fictional plants that are based on scientifically grounded botanic principles. The father and son team of Walter and Graham is unique. Walter is a distinguished professor emeritus at the Department of Biology at the University of Florida, and Graham has his master's in printmaking, and he teaches at Augsburg College and the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, and they work together to write and create the art for this magnificent book. NPR's review of this book says, moved by Tolkien's passion for plants, the retired botany professor Walter spent years cataloging every plant that appeared in Tolkien's writing, eventually compiling a list of 141 different species. He teamed up with his son, Graham, a professional illustrator, and together they embarked on a quest to transform that list into a botanical guide to Middle Earth. And again, it's called The Flora of Middle Earth. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great weekend in the garden, and we'll see you on Monday.